Money FM 89.3, best of weekends.
Robert, welcome to the show today. Great to have you on Money FM Weekend Mornings.
Yeah, hi, Glenn. Morning. Thank you for having me on.
It's great to see you again, and to talk to us about this brave new world of retail that we're in. How have your stores been doing? First of all, how many do you have? Where are they located? I know we have some in Singapore here. You're based in Hong Kong.
Yeah, well, we have nearly 200 stores across Asia Pacific. Yeah, in Singapore we've got 6 or 7. The main ones are at Bugis. In fact, we have 2 at Bugis, and then we have Takashimaya in Neon City. That's kind of the flagship. It's in the basement there. It's a beautiful, lovely, big store. They're on Orchard. But across Asia Pacific, yeah, we've got nearly 200 of them. A mixture of permanent stores and pop-ups.
Robert, this is Neil Humphreys here. Just to say, my daughter was in your Takashimaya store yesterday. So I just thought I'd give you that plug right away. And for those listening on the radio and have access, Robert is doing his Marketing 101. Do get onto Facebook Live if you can, because he is standing in front of a store. This is how you do the marketing. So, Robert, let me ask you, right off the bat, COVID-19, how have things changed in the region? What have you seen? What are the trends in the last 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. First of all, thanks for noticing. Yeah, I'm standing in City Plaza Taikushing in Hong Kong in front of our last seasonal, one of 2 of our last seasonal pop-ups. So in North Asia, we tend to run seasonal pop-ups because of the seasonality, of course. And we've got 2 still operating here in Hong Kong. This is one of them, and this will close sometime in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll open up again in the springtime. We're not quite as lucky as you are in Singapore to have summer all year round, so we go with the flow. Yeah, it's a good question about COVID and everything else, right? So we have kind of the whole range of experiences and possibilities here in Asia. Hong Kong, we've never actually had a complete lockdown. I think the virus here has been pretty well managed. Our big spike was in late July, where a lot of social distancing and other regulations were put in place. But we've never had a closure of retail in Hong Kong. We haven't had a complete closure of F&B. We haven't, fortunately, we've been spared, I would say, the worst of COVID here in Hong Kong. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Philippines, for example, where we have a great business. But, they were in lockdown for nearly 7 months. I think they started sometime in mid-March, and they didn't come out of it until towards the end of August. So they had the longest lockdown. And in fact, actually, we had a statistic that said that out of 27 geographies on Earth that had lockdowns during the spring and summer, 19 of them were in the Asia-Pacific region. That included Singapore for a little while there. So, yeah, you can say from Hong Kong on one end, not as effective, Philippines on the opposite end being hugely affected. We've kind of had the whole range. And then, of course, we're very active in China. We launched in China as Havaianas China in the middle of the summer last year. So this was our first full season in China, which, as you might imagine, was difficult for us to kind of get an idea of how well we're doing or how well we're eventually going to do in China. Because the COVID is sort of the rogue variable there, and a little bit difficult for us to figure out how much our business was affected as a consequence. But
yeah, Robert. Hey, Robert, let me just jump in. Let me just jump in real quick. Talking with Robert Esser, president of APAC in China for Havaianas. Many of you know as the footwear folks. And Robert, when you look around the past 9 months for you, were you effective in going online with your sales during times when it was quieter? Let's say you mentioned it wasn't completely closed down in Hong Kong where you are, but it certainly was here in Singapore for a time and other places. Did you already have an online sales strategy, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and we were quite fortunate because at the beginning of 2018, we got a new CEO at Alpargatas, based in Brazil. Our company's headquartered in Brazil, and our new CEO Roberto had a very clear vision of digital first strategy, and he really pushed digital in a huge way. And I guess you can say he was visionary, but certainly well ahead of COVID. He pushed us hard to pivot towards digital. It was something we were doing anyway, but we had most of 2018 to begin to prepare. So when COVID hit us in kind of February of this year, we were already, I would say, between 50% and 2/3 of the way towards our complete pivot of our businesses. So yeah, we've done super well on digital over the last 6-8 months. Marketplaces, Havaianas.com, et cetera, et cetera. The biggest shopping festival of the year in China is 618 for us anyway. For the summer shopping festival, the biggest of the year is 618, and we did very well. This was our first year really doing that. We did very well at that this year. And then, of course, everybody knows about Double 11th, which is the huge shopping festival that just completed 2 days ago. And on Double 11th this year, we participated in 7 countries, including Singapore. So we were 6 countries in Southeast Asia plus China, and we did super well in that, phenomenally well, I can say. Up from, I would say a handful of pairs last year to tens of thousands of pairs of Havaianas being sold just in one day on Double 11. So yeah, it's been great, actually, I can say.
I'm just wondering,
robust, taking up a lot of the slack. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
No, I was just wondering there, Robert. You have
Go ahead.
In my view, a kind of unique advantage in a way, because I have actually bought some sandals online, flip-flops, but I haven't bought shoes online because I wouldn't do that, because a closed-toe shoe, everyone is different, right? Whereas a sandal or flip-flop, if you're a size 10, you're a size 10. You can buy it online. It's not. Do you notice that? Because my wife wouldn't buy shoes online, not closed-in shoes, but she would certainly buy sandals online because there's more give. There's more allowances that a closed-toe shoe doesn't have.
Yeah, well, that's right. And in fact, in some ways, Havaianas is the perfect thing to ship for e-com. Because I don't know, well, you said you're in the store. I mean, people who are avid Havaianas users, one pair of Havaianas actually covers 2 sizes.
Yeah.
So our most popular selling male size is Brazilian size 41.2, which is European size 43.4. And so if you take into account half sizes, it's actually 4 shoe sizes in one flip. They're quite lightweight, you can say. They pack small and they can't be broken in transit. So it is a perfect thing to use for e-com. And for example, in Japan, where every single Japanese person knows the exact length of their foot in centimeters, it's ideal. Yeah, it's a great thing for that. And in fact, actually, I can say one of the other benefits is a lot of people are actually wearing a pair of Havaianas when they go to order another pair. So all they have to do is look at the one that's on their foot, and then they can make that purchase. And of course, it's not very expensive. Havaianas is one of sort of life's affordable luxuries, and at only an average cost of about $25 a pair, it's a lovely treat for yourself.
Yeah, Robert, speaking with Robert Esser, the president of APAC in China for Havaianas. Robert, you've been in this region for 25 years. You've worked for major FMCG companies, InBev, Unilever, Pantry Magic, HMV. What are you seeing as some of the trends that we're noticing across the retail sector in Asia? Of course, we know about the rise of the middle class that's happening, but at the same time, we have a lot of trade tensions, for example, with the U.S. and China. What are trends that you're seeing, notwithstanding what we've gone through the past 9 months?
So I would say if you're talking about fashion, apparel, that kind of stuff, which obviously for us is our key category, there's a huge trend towards streetwear, casual wear, much more casual wear. Definitely away from the more formal of the past. So, even with luxury brands like, LV, Balenciaga, et cetera, moving towards a much more street-inspired, casual way of fashion. And so you can see that in a lot of brands that are doing sort of athleisure and outdoor and these sorts of things that are doing, increasingly better. And even the more formal brands are pivoting towards a more casual streetwear-oriented fashion scene. So I'd say within that space, that's kind of what's happening. And then overall, there seems to be a tremendous increase in F&B, food, takeaway, grab and go, and then also a proliferation of different grocery store formats. You can see in China and Hong Kong, Singapore, and a lot of other markets, a lot of new players from overseas coming into the market and doing different things. China's got this huge growth in home delivery. I mean, you can make an order online, and within 30 minutes, somebody will deliver fresh food to your house if you live in a major urban area in China. So I would say those two trends towards more casual dressing, more casual fashion, et cetera, and also more casual dining, takeaway, grab and go, and home delivery.
Robert, you're standing in front of one of your pop-up stores in Hong Kong, which is just one of the ways that you're innovating as market trends change. Based upon your data, clearly there is a shift towards e-commerce. Do you think that's here to stay? And if so, what do bricks and mortar stores have to do, in your opinion, moving forward to stay relevant?
Yeah, well, I think there's definitely a shift towards e-com. Well, I don't know that there's necessarily a shift away from bricks and mortar per se, but there's definitely a shift towards more e-com. And I think especially for a lot of people who perhaps weren't ordering on e-com a lot prior to COVID, because everybody was sort of forced into it, it's brought a whole heck of a lot of new users into that base. And people have seen in a lot of situations where they had a good experience that it can be tremendously easy to do. And so for certain things, I think there is definitely going to be a shift. Things like staples and stuff like that you don't really need to interact with when you purchase, there will definitely be a shift away. When I look at bricks and mortar stores and what they can do, you made a good point earlier. Things that you really need to try on, that you need to see, that you want to touch and feel. I think there's always going to be a space for that. Shopping as a form of entertainment, particularly in super urbanized places like Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo, New York, et cetera, where people really shop retail therapy as their primary leisure pursuit. I think there's always going to be an opportunity, but it really puts the responsibility on brands and retailers to have something really interesting, right? I mean, I won't name any names, but at Christmas last year, I wanted to buy a gift for my wife, and I tried to look up where this store was, and I found a store, and it was across town. So I made my way across town here in Hong Kong. And when I got to the shopping mall, which is at Ocean Terminal, I looked all over the place and finally found that the store had actually closed. And the store had closed more than a year and a half prior to that, and that wasn't reflected anywhere. And so I know the person